from Playbook and Harvest Profit here. Hope all is well. Welcome to day 18 of our Starting a Software Company in 100 Days project. So far, so good. I'll give you a quick update today on our progress. We're ticking off a couple final design to-dos. I pretty much came to the conclusion that these are going to leak out, I think, for at least the next few weeks as we uncover a few pieces of UI that are uncovered with design. One of them specifically is when we activate a process, there's going to be a few pieces of the process that are going to need to be customized each time it's activated, or we're going to have to give the option of customizing it, custom employees, custom due dates. And so we need to go in and design that. Those things aren't going to be static, they're going to be dynamic. And so I need to go out and spec this to do. And so right here, I've showed this in a couple of my other videos, but this is the design subset of to-dos that we have. It's tasks for me to, these are tasks that I need to flush out. And then I move them up to the design to-dos, and then the designer puts them in the to be reviewed category, and then we just go and check them off. And so we've checked off a lot of to-dos, and frankly, most of the to-dos on the design front. So going to keep moving along there. If we take a look at our hill chart, we've made a little more progress on building out the web app. I don't think we're at the point yet where we are going to define our final scope. When we define our final scope, we will drag this over here. We're still in the figuring things out process of Playbook versus completely executing and making them happen. And so I will save this update. I think I'm going to add a couple other to-do lists to this to add a little more granularity and to the process of tracking this along. And I'll just go ahead and do one right now. So I'm going to move the marketing site stuff off of the marketing list. I'm going to change this to more of a content, more of a strategy-based marketing list. So here I'll add a new list, marketing site. I'm just going to add a couple. Not really going to select a theme per se, but select basically an initial wireframe or an initial design that we're going to craft ours to look like. And then, so I'll flush those out further. But for the purposes of that, we now have I got to go back to the marketing site here and track this on the hill chart. And we are good to go there. I'll slide just from the standpoint of what I look at a lot. I'll slide this to-do list below the design because this is the main to-do list that we are executing off of right now. So there we go. We're continuing to move things forward. The web app build is going to be stuck on the high part of this hill chart for quite a long time. And so we will continue to make progress there. And so next thing I wanted to show you is just some of the back and forth that I've been having with our developer, the primary developer on this project. So we have a message board created. They are creating daily updates. We're having some back and forth questions here. I can go in and just basically track the progress of these. And so the design update or the development update that was posted today, working on making the data, building the database, adding tests. So if you went back to my prior video on how to select a developer, finding a developer that respects and has tests built into their development process, I think is a very sound decision and a quality investment of that developer's time. And then I'll have a couple edge case here on our data structure. If we have layers of hierarchy above 5, we need to, there's some issues on how we can handle that. So he's reviewing that. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to chat about is we're using Ruby on Rails and React for this project, two open source, quite mature technologies. Rails has been around for a long time, 10 plus years. React, has been in the market for the past 3 or 4. But there's just a lot of out of the box packages, gems, open source tools that are built on top of both Ruby on Rails and React that we can leverage. And so if we look, going back to how we build a process, we have tasks. So you have task 1, task 2, task 3. Then we also have decisions. So you have a decision, is this condition met or is this condition met? And then the task tree will branch off based on those decisions. And so that tree-based UI, we were going to use a React library or a React, in Rails it's called a gem, basically an open source piece of code that we would use React, the JavaScript framework to already have the initial building blocks of that done. We've had some trouble finding an adequate library, and so our developer here is going to spend some more time researching that and probably going to design that from scratch. And so that's a big question on, all right, this is a piece of scope that has widened out. Do we need to, how much time is this going to take? Given the limited time frame that we have, the fixed deadline, we need to make sure that the scope of this doesn't branch out to where we're, creating a best-in-class library where maybe that's not what is needed. And so by the end of the week, in 2 days from now, I would expect the task creation process to be done. The initial database will all be built for all of the components of our process building. And then we can work on adding all of the UI around both the tree-based builder, the different components of a task. There's different form components such as checklists, dates, file uploads, linear scales. How does this, if I'm going to remodel a house, what is the floor on a scale of 1 to 10? What is the roof on a scale of 1 to 10? If I'm going to inspect a house, things like that. So you can have linear scales, you can have select boxes, you can have multi-row and multi-column select boxes. So just a lot of powerful form components that we're going to build into the Playbook MVP. And so hopefully by probably the end of next week, so day 25-ish, we could get a good start to working on that. And then adding some more of the business logic, adding team members to your account, starting to think about implementing Stripe, the pricing mechanism. And so, yeah, that's where we stand today. So tomorrow, I'm going to update you with some current thoughts that I have on pricing, which is a really big decision to make. I'm not making it so such a huge decision that we're going to spend, weeks and weeks and weeks deciding. It's going to be more of an iterative process and more of an experimentation as we go in building Playbook. So just want to give you an update, show you some of the to-do lists in action, share with you some thoughts on how we're moving forward and how we're sharing updates on our development and the choice that we're trying to utilize open source libraries that are available because we are using these big open source technology stacks that are quite mature. Yeah, just wanted to give you an update on day 18. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about pricing. Would love to have you subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Visit getplaybook.com and subscribe if you would be interested in updates and learn more as we move forward to our launch. So thank you. That's all for today, and look forward to talking to you tomorrow.